Hi, I'm Mike London, and I'm meeting with a lot of artists that work right here in the Miami Valley, artists and arts leaders. CultureWorks supports a wide range of artists and arts organizations, and these interviews are our opportunity to get to meet a few and get to know them, who's working right here in the Valley. So today I'm with Alyssa Hanson. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good today.
Good.
Yeah, it's a
Good.
good day. The weather's
It
nice.
is.
And
It
yeah,
is.
we're
Yes.
still in our, in our socially distancing right now, and we're doing
Yes.
good. Okay,
Yes.
nobody.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got this. But I want people to know who you are because I know who you are and I love your voice. So
Oh,
tell me who you are as an artist.
well, my story is, eclectic, I suppose, like many's. I grew up around an artistic family. My parents are both singers, actually. They're multi-talented individuals. And so I grew up around music. I grew up around them singing and, my father conducting and my mother having her hands in something creative, all the time. So that was definitely fostered in me. And I did go to school and I studied music at a college in Tennessee. And then I also have a degree in strategic communication. So I never really gave it up. It was just a part of my life, in the everyday aspect. And I finally decided to pursue it sort of, I don't know how many years ago, but it's been quite a few years now that I realized I couldn't run from the passion of it. And that I really, as a writer, and a singer and a creative, I needed to figure out what it was in my sort of being that felt unfulfilled and needed to express.
So
So
when you were singing, what were some of those experiences? I mean, did you sing in a choir? Did you sing in a show? What was it like?
so my first solo was I was thrown I was thrown on a stage of about 1,000 people for a Christmas show when I was 3.
Oh, wow.
And I sang a rendition of Happy Birthday Jesus behind a choir of about 80, or in front of a choir of about 80. And so it was very much normal for me to get up on stage and do a thing last minute and be thrown into this and that. And I grew up, I'm classically trained, so I'm a soprano, and I have that classically trained style. And I did pageants a while back to pay for college, and very much my classical style was utilized. Also I would sing with my parents here and there, and I have sung for church, and I was always in the choirs. I was involved in music in some way or another, but it was never original. It was never original material until I decided to go after it in a different way. So.
Did you ever sing with the small groups?
Oh yeah. I was in I was in ensembles in college. I don't know if you've heard of Lee University, but I went there for a while, and I had a small ensemble that I sang with, and also their bigger choir, and an ensemble at OSU, and even in high school, there was a master singers group, an a cappella group that I sang with. I've always been interested in it. It's always been a part of me. It's very much part of who I am as an individual.
What was it that prompted, I'm curious, that prompted you wanting to write? Some of us are their singers. We'll sing forever, and we don't want to write anything. Of course,
Right.
I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. You know that. But seriously, some of us we'll do whatever anybody else has got, but we're not writers. What was it that prompted you to begin writing?
Well, it's funny that I'm talking to you so much about singing and music, because I actually consider myself a writer first and foremost. Mm-hmm. I've always been able to and interested in expressing myself and dealing with myself via the written word. And what became a ritual, what started as a ritual, when I was younger, turned into a skill set that that has really helped me through a lot. As someone who's a writer, it's something that you sort of craft by accident. I don't know how else to say it, but as a writer and someone who, very, very naturally and organically thinks in metaphors and intangibles. When I started to put my thoughts to music, it felt like it was very fulfilling. It incited a spark within me, and
Something felt right.
Yes, something felt right, and I could not ignore it.
Do you remember your first? What was your first song? Do you remember that you wrote?
Oh, I think it was called. Yeah, I do remember it.
You don't have to sing it. I'm not going to be a pain in the butt on that, okay? I may be a pain to ask you to sing something else, but I'm just curious. Do you remember that? What was?
I remember. I think I was about 13, and I remember being. I mean, and this was a long time before I actually started writing songs in a more cohesive way. But I remember being in the shower, just singing a little tune, and I wrote it down in my journal. Because I couldn't forget the melody, and so the rhythmic flow of the lyrics, that always helps. And I was really excited, so I showed my family, and they encouraged me. And I think that's really important when you are a creative, to have a support system of any kind. Just one person supporting you, and telling you that it's worth pursuing and that it's important. And even just a pat on the back can keep you, on a road of being a creative human and making art in a way that impacts the world. So but the song was called Icicles. If I remembered all the words, I might sing it for you, but it was many years ago. So
So and how would you describe your writing today as a songwriter? I mean, is it affected by the genre of music, or has that changed also?
Well, as a writer and a singer, merging those two, there is a learning curve.
Yeah.
And I was sort of, when I first doing all the things in church and the classical stuff was really great and really fulfilling in its own right. But I really wanted to step out into, the more secular world and understand what it was like to be part of a real band. Not that the bands I was involved with weren't real, but I wanted to understand the real music scene. And I happened to live in Dayton when I decided that. So, I started by sort of learning songs of other artists in my band. My band wrote their own stuff. And as my skill sets grew, the genre that I was writing within evolved and changed, I think. So that those, I will say this though, just because a person has an understanding of music that is thorough doesn't mean that their work is going to be better than an individual who can't read music. A lot of songwriting is written by feel. And that is really a beautiful part of someone who can't read music. Oftentimes they don't know what rules they're breaking, and that's why their music is so good.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about my process via different people that I worked with. You can learn a lot if you pay attention. So.
Yeah, I used to, it's so true, because I used to ask I asked my father once, many years ago. We were listening to my uncle, who was a fiddler.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I bet 25 years he won the state fiddling contest in West Virginia. Seriously. He was quite a fiddler, but not a lot of action. But what was fascinating to me was, I asked my father one time, we were sitting listening to one of the, many competitions and with the crowd, and I was young and I was bugging him, and I said, where is the music? And he said, well, you're listening to it. Now be quiet. And I'd sit there and I'd look, and I said, well, because I didn't know, they know everything. Yeah, yes, yeah, listen. And then I think I'm remembering at my uncle's at his home, because I would stay there with them and my cousins and everything. And I never saw a sheet of music. Never. I saw guitars, mandolins, fiddles, a piano. I saw all kinds of things. I never saw a sheet of music. And so my father was just like, he was like, just listen, because he was enjoying his brother's music. So I asked my uncle, and he told me, he said, oh, he said, my goodness, he said, no, I don't read that on the paper. And I mean, he wasn't apologizing for it. He wasn't explaining. It was just very simple. No, he didn't. And I said, well, how did you learn how to play? And he said, on the back porch.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay. And I thought, I don't think I should ask anything else. He was, and he was just very patient with me. But that to me was amazing. But you're so right. There are so many artists that it doesn't diminish their skill and their capability. It's like they have a different avenue of getting to it.
Absolutely. It doesn't, it's really beautiful. Music is beautiful for that reason. It is something that it can reach everyone no matter what. And even the people who create it, the conduits who are meant to share it with others. My father is, he's a composer. Yeah. So he's been, I hope that he's been intrigued, by my artistic journey. But oftentimes, when you are playing with players who don't read music, you have to find your own vibe with them. And that's getting connected with people in that artistic way. I think it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding, and anyone who's listening to you or paying attention to you is going to be impacted by a well-connected group of people playing.
So have you had that opportunity to, in a band or anything, to connect with those other artists that really come from a different background, that maybe don't read music or have just come from a different genre, but there's still the skill with that instrument, whatever it might be, is there?
Oh yeah, I've definitely worked with a lot of musicians. I've worked with a lot of musicians locally. I'm friends with a lot of people who are currently on the scene right now. And they are just wonderful people, and they're just a lot of fun to work with. My first band was called Blackbirds, and that was very folky. And then the second project I did was called Red in the Water, and it was a traveling sort of hippie island folk band. And we traveled the country in our orange Vanagon, making music by the beach. And we released an EP, and we had a rotating caravan of people that we would play with depending on where we were. So we had a violinist for a month, and then we had a banjo player for a month. And that was so fun. I actually wrote a memoir about it that I'm working on getting published right now. But we have an EP from that. And then that project was very different than my most recent project called Opa, we co-write the music. And it's a very different experience than my last project. So yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people. It's amazing. You can force something to work, but that organic chemistry when you're writing and when you're creating, that's really where the magic is. And I've been fortunate enough to have that a few times. So I really love collaborating.
When we think of Dayton, some of us know what the music scene is and even know some of the spots. Others don't. What's it like here? What's the music scene like here for a musician?
It's really beautiful and unique in some ways, because it's big to an extent, but it's manageable, and you can really sink your teeth into an experience that is very educational, really. I've learned so much, and there's such a warmth to the people in this town and the artists in this town. They're so good. And they're such good people, and they're so humble about it. You know, if you really want to hone in on feeling a sense of community as an artist, Dayton is a wonderful place to be. Absolutely.
Are there favorite places that you've enjoyed playing?
Oh yeah, I really enjoy playing at the old Yellow Cab building. I think it's called a tavern now.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I remember it was literally just an old Yellow Cab building. And my friend brought me there to do The Last Waltz. I was involved in a production of The Last Waltz. I didn't even know what that was at the time. I'd never seen the documentary. And wow, what amazing, wonderful, warm music and wonderful people. And that's a great venue. And that venue has really evolved. And I've been really impressed with what Jeff has done with that venue. I haven't had a chance to perform at the Levitt Pavilion, but I think it's wonderful. The Dayton is growing in that way, growing exponentially in terms of the arts and with opportunities for artists to play. You know, I played at Jilly's before it closed down. That was, my heart. You know, that was a wonderful experience. Jilly's had such a great atmosphere. And, you know, I've even played up at View 162, up at the top floor of the Crown. You know, I'll go in there and play piano sometimes. They'll give me key lime pie. You know, it's a lot of fun. I love this town, and I love the atmosphere that its musicians provides.
When you think of the musicians that you've heard over the years, who, you know, sometimes we're influenced. Who influences you? Who inspires you, excites you?
I can say without a doubt that my guilty pleasure for the majority of my musical career has been duos who really have those tight harmonies. I'm in love with really intricate vocal harmonies and collaborations. And I really fell in love with a band called the Civil Wars. They won a bunch of Grammys in 2012, I think. We met at a songwriting workshop, and their music was so good. I mean, if you've never heard of them, I don't know if you have, but their harmonies are so good. I just wanted to be able to produce material like that because it wasn't overproduced. It wasn't too chaotic in terms of, you know, the background. It was just really raw and minimalistic and beautiful. That would be definitely my go-to in terms of what has inspired me to make the kind of music that stirs the soul, but doesn't have too many layers and, you know, where the voice gets lost.
Yeah.
So I love them. Check them out. They actually are not a band anymore, but that's actually kind of the beauty of their story is that you only have those 2 years of their music.
So, okay, what's the name again for anyone listening?
The Civil Wars.
Okay.
Is the name of that duo, and yeah, they're my faves. I love them. I do.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. What about who's around town? And it may not even be a singer, or who are the artists that are in this community that sort of just get you excited?
This always happens to me when I'm asked to name names, and their names escape me. So I'll do my best here.
Yeah.
Lately, a lot of local artists have really done a good job at communicating the effects of the quarantine, you know, on this city. And
Yep.
I've really enjoyed Amber. I don't know if you pronounce her last name, Hargett. She's been putting out a lot of beautiful music. Kylene Downs, I know that you know her.
Yeah.
You interviewed her. Actually, Patrick Himes, who owns Real Love Studios, I actually met him when he had a studio in Nashville. He's kind of an amazing powerhouse human, and he sort of has taken to really, you know, enveloping this community with his big heart and his analog style of recording. And a lot of really good local artists have been releasing their work and worked with him. And if anybody watching this has never heard of him or heard of his studios, he's really been working with a lot of artists, and I really have a lot of respect for the way that he works with us. God, I know that there are so many other musicians that I just have a lot of respect for. Joe Waters, Kevin Milner. I actually do work. Kevin, hi. I work with Kevin. We're in a band together. There are so many more that I'm at a loss for remembering, but I'm constantly enthused and inspired by the music that this town and its people create.
You know, for a singer, and let me just think of just the aspect of your life as a songwriter. What is the biggest challenge that you face? If I say, what is the biggest challenge as a songwriter, Alyssa, what jumps to mind?
Finishing the thought. A lot of times we need to finish the piece while the fire is hot, because if you don't, coming back to it is so hard. Because it becomes this burdening task instead of something that you're literally, on fire about. My Red in the Water music. I have so much music from the past that I didn't quite refine, but that the rawness of it is there, and it, I didn't spend those couple days just finishing the piece. It's amazing if you can focus on where your fire is. Songwriting is very rewarding, but it's and you're also limited by, in some ways you are and you aren't. I shouldn't even say that. But yeah, no, that's definitely what I struggle with, is finishing the thought once I have been able to express the way I feel, and I feel that catharsis, and you can leave everything on the paper. Do you ever experience that when you're finished writing and you don't have to carry it anymore?
Yeah.
I think returning to it and refining it so that it can be a work of art to share with others, that's where it becomes the work and the responsibility as an artist. And that for me is the lifelong struggle and the challenge.
And as a singer, is there a challenge as a singer that you've had to deal with over the years?
Oh yeah, taking care of your voice. A lot of times people do not understand that this is my instrument.
Yes.
Although I dabble in other instruments, the voice is my primary instrument. And when someone smokes around me, or there's too much bourbon to be had, or any variety of substances that I'm standing around or I'm exposed to, it's like taking your guitar and smashing it or breaking a string. You have to be careful the way that you speak on it. You have to be careful what you eat. You have to, it's protecting the voice is a full-time job.
Are there any, if there's a singer out there that you wanted to give 2 tips to about taking care of your voice, what would those 2 tips be?
Be around smoke as little as possible.
Okay.
And if you're going to inhale, don't fully inhale, just sort of, if a person, a lot of people smoke to give themselves that grovelly tone, but yeah, definitely be careful around that if you can. Gargle with salt water a lot. Warm salt water is a lifesaver. If you're struggling to clear out that phlegm, it's really, really good for your voice. Also, olive oil and a shot of whiskey before you go on stage will help.
I love it.
It'll clear out yeah.
I just want to know, does it count if it's a good shot of Buffalo Trace bourbon?
Hey, you know what? The voice doesn't know any different. So I would say go.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And if anybody asks why, I'm going to tell them I'm just preparing to sing.
Yep, absolutely. Works every time. No, and specifically whiskey too. Whiskey and bourbon. There's something about the way that it clears the throat that's different. So yeah, that, and God, if I had anything else, make sure you warm up. Warm up. Use your voice before you perform, and don't be afraid to suck. don't be afraid to, when you're stretching, it takes time to stretch those vocal cords and to grow in terms of, you know, your highs and your lows and your range.
So what would a typical warm-up sound like that you might do? Can you show
my
me?
My warm-ups are hilarious.
That's okay. I love a good laugh, but come on.
Usually, they'll usually start in the shower. I recommend always starting in an area that has a lot of humidity or steam to clear out the vocal cords. And you just start by, and you just do that over and over. You know, up and down and up and down, specifically focusing on areas that are.
I can't do the first one. I could do the second one with the lips, but keep going. This is fascinating.
I also like to sing songs that I really enjoy and love, like at full volume.
Yeah.
You know, just to get and make. I always make sure that I'm singing. You know, I don't know if you know what a passaggio is or a break is, but there are certain places in a singer's vocal cords. It's very difficult to sing those notes for everyone, and everyone's passaggio is different, but I focus on making sure that area is warmed up. So I do that constantly, and I gargle with salt water constantly, and I drink a lot of throat coat right before a show, and I'm doing this for about 2 hours before. So if you're talking to me or spending any time with me before I go on stage or before I perform, I'm like, how are you doing? Oh, what's going on here? You know, and I can't apologize for it because it makes a huge difference, even in my mentality, you know, so that I feel prepared. So yeah, that's sort of some of the stuff, really stuff that I also, things I learned in choir. If anybody has taken choir, you know, many mumbling mice, making my music in the moonlight, mighty nights. We used to have to do that in increments, scale increments. That's difficult to get those words out. So, you know, any technique, any practical technique like that, utilize or practice just a little bit will definitely help a singer improve in terms of their enunciation. Mm-hmm.
So
lots of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I will still carry a tune in a bucket. I might warm up every now and then though. You're giving me ideas. It's a little scary, but so let me ask you, let me be a pain here and ask you, I just heard you, I mean, you're singing, could you give me a couple of verses of something a cappella? Would you mind? You know I love your voice, okay? So that's not even a secret, but seriously, come on, just a little something.
Okay, I suppose I could sing a little bit of Basement Sweaters. I don't know how it will sound without the piano.
Let's find out.
All right, let's find out. I am stuck down in the basement, and today it is your birthday. I know I left it somewhere. There's a card I know for you. So I pick apart the letters, and I tear it all, the sweaters, all things collecting dust that never matter till they do, until they do, until they do. I am stuck down in the basement, making breakfast when my memory has staring at the page of the part I held on to. What do I say? I found this sweater, and I finally remember how to hold your hand on Thursdays, and your favorite shade of blue, shade of blue, shade of blue. I'll just say, hey, here, take this sweater, I still love you. Happy birthday, I didn't make a cake 5 years ago. This year I want to, that's what I'll say. I found this sweater, and I finally remember sound the ache I hesitate to make. Here's a song for you. All the things that never mattered to me do. All the things that do not matter now to you. I woke early in the morning to organize my thoughts, eradicate to live against untiring grimy-knots, and I at least wanted to leave you with this one transparent. All the things that used to matter, they do not. They do not. Joey, please take the sweater that I lied. Ooh.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to my acapella version.
Oh, no, I love that. No, oh, that's just great. No, it's just, wow. What, do you remember when you wrote that?
That's an interesting story behind that song.
I really want to know what prompted that one.
That is a quarantine song. I wrote that during quarantine, and I opened up, I was in a mood.
Yeah.
And I opened up my journal from this last year.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to pick from it and write something. And those were my lyrics, those were my thoughts. I was literally doing that one night, and I wrote about it. And it turned into this really deep, poignant thought that I'm really happy that I was able to make a song out of it, because it really captured something that I really think people can relate to. You know, you're living your life, you're doing just fine, and you run into a memory, and it gets you for a second, and you have regrets, and you have that, that pang of love and pain, and also remembering that you grow, and as you grow, you become wiser, and it's okay. But here's the sweater that I found, So, yeah, it was a journal entry that turned into a song during quarantine.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So, that's fun. So when you think about, what's coming up, we all know that, we have, for safety and health reasons, we have significant restrictions right now.
Right.
And it's changing a little bit at a time, but we cannot predict the immediate future, other than to say we know that we're going to be dealing with this probably for a little while. But in the long term, eventually, we'll be able to move. What do you see down the road? I mean, what are you hoping to see in the next year or two?
I have a lot of, I want to tie up some loose ends on some of these projects that are definitely weighing on my soul. And this coronavirus situation has been a strangely unique opportunity for me to actualize those again. I have an album almost finished. I'm actually working with Patrick at Real Love, and we are conceptualizing this project together, and I'm really hoping to get that album out sooner than later. I really want to get that memoir out by the end of the summer. And I really want to travel a little bit again. I want to continue. This will be my life. I will be doing this for the rest of my life. I will always be music, and music will always be me. So I want to just keep going and just continue sharing who I am and what I've learned about life with the world.
So when that time comes, for anybody who's listening and had been watching this interview, when they want to find Alyssa's work, where do I go if I want to hear your work? Is there, is something accessible online, or when that album's finished, where do I go to look?
So I do have a self-titled website. It is alyssahanson.com, and I have various recordings. I have my EP on sale for digital download. I also have hard copies on there, and when tour dates are a thing again, I will also be broadcasting that as well. So I have a Facebook page. OPA has a Facebook page. I don't know if I can maybe get you the links. It's facebook.com listen to OPA, and then facebook.com Red Revealed are the two pages on Facebook.
Okay.
And, yeah, my page alyssahanson.com. I'm trying to update that as frequently as possible.
Okay.
So that's where.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
This is great. Yeah, no, I know. We have to do it this way. Someday, it'll be, for now it's air hugs, but in the future, things will change. It'll come back. Do you have any, before I let you go, I just want to know, there are people out there that, there are those of us who are, I'm going to be honest, we're just really shy. So if there's a shy singer out there or a shy songwriter out there, what kind of advice do you have? What do you want to share with them?
I can relate to a shy singer, to be honest with you. It's taken me a long time to be willing to sing out and to use my high register. It's scary. No matter how old you are, no matter how experienced you are, it's always going to be a little scary. Anything that's worth it, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And the time's going to pass anyway, you might as well do the scary thing that you love. I used to abide by, do one thing that scares you every day. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And Joan of Arc said, I don't know if she actually said this, I'm not afraid, I was born for this. And those three ideas have helped me get over my stage fright. And a shot of bourbon doesn't help either, or doesn't hurt either. Rather, it doesn't hurt either. So don't give up on yourself. It's okay to fail. Last year, 2 years ago, I got up on stage with a mandolin for the first time, and I forgot the chords. It happens. Don't be afraid to fall on your face, because you're doing more than someone who didn't get up on the stage, and be proud of these small achievements.
That's the best. That's the best. Thank you so much. For anybody watching, there are a wide variety of artists that are supported by CultureWorks and arts organizations that are supported by CultureWorks. If you want to know more about CultureWorks, if you want to be able to become a supporter for CultureWorks, go to their website, which is cultureworks.org. Become a Passport member. It's a very inexpensive way to help and support something that helps to support for us and really brings benefits. I have been able to take my kids and my grandkids to things that I don't know if I would have been able to afford to because I'm buying one ticket and getting one free. It's wonderful. So for anybody out there watching, if you want to know more about CultureWorks, if you want to become a supporter, which we need you now, go to cultureworks.org. Alyssa, thank you so much. Air hugs, as we say. Until next time. Absolutely. Thank you.